So I know we don't have that much time left today, but I think
we don't. Look at that.
I know. I am curious though, and I know we'll pick up more on business first next time, but so if you've got this list of things to do, you've got to launch your business, you're excited, you got certified, you're in the middle of that, you're like, right, I am ready to go out there. And we'll talk more about systems and business launches and those things. Where does the niche fit in the order of that?
I think you can let your niche come to you in a lot of ways, where you put yourself out there in different ways, and then you see what lands with the audience. See what lands. I think sometimes coaches, it's important to have one. But I'm really into this idea of creating what's the minimum viable product? Like, what's the minimum viable thing that you can do to test whether or not your idea is going to work? So I would put on a couple. Try that. Like, let's say one of the most favorite specialties I've ever heard was there's a woman out of Florida. She wanted to work with high school students who were deaf. Amazing, and it's very clear very clear, specific challenges, and very, very clear where to find them. So the thing to do is put on a workshop and see if it lands, see if there's traction around that. Executive world, I know it's pretty common for people in the executive world to say I work with women in their like your specialty, Raj, work with women executives who are in leadership positions, and you get a very clear idea. Well, find them, put on workshops for them. Do they like you? Or does it make sense to be in this space? You just gotta find the minimum thing and do it. And to quickly answer the idea of the logistics of business building, in the United States, building business, so I just know US stuff. But I've looked into other countries as well. It's fascinating. The United States is pretty business friendly for startups. So you can get an LLC, register for your state for an LLC, go get a bank account once you get your registration done. And then I would charge, what I did is I just charged $50 a session, built up a client base, then got to $100 a session. And then once I got full, then I kept upping my price slowly. Towards the end, I was charging around $165 an hour, and then $210 an hour. And that's kind of where I was, that's where I stopped. What that allowed me to do was also, if there was a student I really wanted to work with or couldn't afford it, then I just gave them either some sort of scholarship or discount on it. That's how that went down. And then I did a lot of workshops for different school districts, different schools that I knew couldn't afford coaching. I would go in there and do what I could. I worked with Elevate Oregon. It was a nonprofit organization that was in a lot of those schools. And that was this crazy fulfilling work. So that's how I spent those years.
Yeah, and I think just building on from that, a few quick tips what I'd say to people, because talking to new coaches, is don't get fixated on the niche thing. Don't let that become something that holds you back or you start to procrastinate, because fear will kick in. We all get that fear of launching. And, I often speak to coaches who might be sitting on perfection of what this is going to look like, or procrastinating, or, well, I haven't determined my niche yet. One of the things that I did was my business LLC is actually the Anderson Center, but I don't do business as the Anderson Center. I've actually rebranded and upgraded, I'll call it, probably about 4 times now. But my bank accounts, the LLC, everything, the 401k, the retirement plans, everything is under the Anderson Center. So remember that I did that, but I do business as Coachability now. There was a time when I did business as myself. So tip is, don't let the niche or those things get you stuck in the mud and stop you from moving forward.
Right. Right. That's it. Yeah. I mean, I think it's a lot of, yeah, I even now I think what's the minimum test? Like what's the minimum thing that we can do to test whether or not this idea has legs? And it's a really helpful place to think.